If you ask anyone who is obsessed with deer hunting what is their favorite way to chase mature bucks, odds are you'll get a laundry list of tips, tricks, and tactics. Whether you own a private farm that is perfectly set up and manicured for the deer, or you are a public land hunter that walks or canoes 2 miles in to get away from everyone, there is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to deer hunting. You could hunt scrapes on permission pieces in the pressured state of Michigan like John Eberhart. You could pattern a buck for years on a farm and only hunt certain stands on certain conditions like Don Higgins. You could speed scout public and get it done in one sit any time of the year like Andy May. You could knock on doors in the suburbs and kill giants that thought they were untouchable like Lee Ellis. You could sleep at the base of your tree and kill an Iowa monster like Bill Winke. Or you can get in close and hunt buck beds like the hunting beast himself, Dan Infalt. Dan has made a name for himself in the outdoor industry for being known as the big buck serial killer. Sure, Dan hunts scrapes, rut funnels, and does drives during gun season, but what he is known for and really good at is finding a mature buck's bed in the cattail sloughs and marshes of Wisconsin's public land and slipping in close to set up right in his bedroom. Dan has killed numerous big bucks over the years, but his biggest buck is a story you'll definitely want to hear.
This buck over here, I don't know if you can see the rack very well in that, but that buck, that's my highest scoring buck. He scores in the upper 180s gross, right under 180 net. And I've got one shed antler from that buck. I hunted that buck for like 3 years. And the shed I found right in his bed, I shot him in that bed, the same bed I found the shed in. In his last couple years that I was hunting him, he always bedded when it was a westerly wind, which was most of the time, under this willow that was sweeping over in some grass in a low swampy area. And you couldn't get near him because everything else was open. There's no trees or anything. There wasn't a scrape or rub within 100 yards of that bed. And he would be bedded there all the time. And then in the end of January, I picked up a shed antler in that bed. And the next year, I was watching him bed there on a regular basis, going in and out of there, and some other bucks when he wasn't there. And it was getting to be so regular that I knew he was there, but he would get up and he would move 100 yards in daylight and it'd be too dark to shoot, and there was no trees around. And it was all canary grass, so it was just driving me crazy. And it was set up with that west wind. You'd come in down this dirt road. If you stepped off that dirt road, he would get buggy. But people would walk past him all the time. So one day I went in there and I walked on the road and I see his tracks going across some snow. So I walk off the trail like 20 yards looking at his tracks, looking over towards the tree where he beds, turn around, come back, and I'm trying to contemplate a setup. But ultimately just thought, no, I'm just gonna go back and watch and see what happens and see if he moves far enough. He walks out like he always does and gets to where I walk 20 yards from that trail and just buggers out of there, just runs out of there. If I walk on the dirt road, he's okay. But you get that scent off that dirt road where you don't belong and he'd freak out. So then on Thanksgiving Day, I was waiting for a wind switch.
Okay.
I knew he wouldn't go cross country, but I was thinking I could sneak in on him on a wind switch. Our gun season is Thanksgiving week, and on Thanksgiving Day, right in midday, the wind switched from west to east, and I said I got to go get this buck, and my whole family was mad because we were having a big celebration, and I got my shotgun. I'm like, I'll be back. Yeah. And I went out there, and there's a little patch of cattails between the logging road or the dirt road and the bed. And I got on that dirt road in line with that bed with the cattails, and I crawled up to those cattails, and I bungeed the gun to my back. And the water was like this deep in the grass, and it was frozen, and I had to just kind of break the ice. And I got soaked. And I get to those cattails, and I never had, the courage to do that.
Yeah.
And especially with a bow, but I did it with a shotgun, right?
Right.
But I get to those cattails and I get the gun off my back and stuff. And you're half thinking he's not going to be there. And I rise up out of this little patch, and the thing's 20 yards from me, sitting in his bed, looking at me like this, broadside, and I shot it right in the heart. And if it would have been a bow, I would have shot it with a bow, but I never had the courage to do that. If I would have had the courage, I could have did it with a bow. Yeah, he just jumped out of his bed and fell a few feet from it.